Hi, Sharyn Craig here with you this morning, talking to you again about the Cutting Corners ruler. If you haven't already seen the previous two videos that dealt with the basics of the ruler, and which was how to cut odd shapes and also how to do secondary designs, I highly recommend that you look at those, maybe even because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how easy it is to use this ruler anytime you want to put your blocks on point for a quilt. Rather than just cutting great big plain triangles, setting triangles, I'm going to give you an easy way to do stripped triangles. For years and years I taught a class on the road, and I would take a quilt that had stripped triangles in the setting, and I would say to people, how would you do this? And they would say to me, I would sew strips together. And then what I would say, and they'd say, I'd cut them into triangles. All right, if you look at my cover of the packaging here for the ruler, you're going to see a white, a red, and a black strip triangle. See where I'm talking about? So if you sewed a white, a red, and a black strip together, and you cut those into triangles, up and down, every other triangle would be wasted. You'd have to throw it away. You wouldn't be able to use it because instead of having a long black, it would have a long white. So unless you made a whole nother quilt, exactly the same size blocks, and wanted white on the outside, you'd be throwing away an awful lot of fabric. So instead, what I'm going to show you is a really, really easy way to create these pieces with virtually no waste. Now, in the booklet that comes with the ruler, all of this is explained step by step by step. So if you don't follow all I'm doing here today, you can go back to the book and read it very slowly and, at your own pace, and do things one step at a time. Also have some patterns out. Anvil Magic is one of them that uses these stripped triangles here around the edge, and in this case it gives you all the yardages and everything. There's charts in the booklet for various size blocks, but maybe you're not going to want the size strips that I've used, or that your blocks are slightly different than mine. Again, I will show you exactly how to draft it in the booklet if you want to do some different size or use more strips or less strips. So this is the triangle right here that I'm referring to. So you see these pieces? In this case we have a white one, a brown one, and then we have this green triangle with a little purple square on the top. This little square at the top actually takes advantages of the secondary designs. So it's lots of applications that we can use this for. But what you need to know is how long this piece is from here to here. Okay? I tell you in the book, I tell you in the patterns. You're going to cut a rectangle this length plus a ½ inch, plus this width plus a ½ inch. Now if this width is 2 inches, then it is a finished 1½ inch. So you have your rectangle. We got a board over here that we cut a rectangle. And then if it's a finished 1½ inch, if it's a finished 2 inches, that's the size cutting corner that you're going to use. You're going to position the ruler, cut away the corner, and the remaining piece is exactly the piece that you need for here. You do the same thing with every shape that you want, every color that you want. Cut away the corners. So these little triangles on the outside here, that's the waste. When I said there was virtually no waste, I think you're going to agree with me. That's not a lot of waste. In the past, 30 years ago when I started quilting, if I wanted to do something like this, I would have to make a template for each of these pieces. And even if I had a way today to make these templates rotary safe, it would take a lot of template material to do this. All I need today is my cutting corners ruler. All I need to do is my strip cutting ruler, cut that strip of fabric, cut away the corners, and the piece that I have left is the one that I need. Sew these pieces together, the black and the red, and I've got the strip portions. All right, but now what about the triangle? How do I do that? The triangle is no more than a square sliced in half once. So when you go to do that, you're going to take a square, cut it in half, and there's your triangle that you would need. Simple, wasn't it? All the straight of grain is exactly where you want it to be. On these strip triangles, I end up with straight of grain on the outside edge of the quilt here, and I end up with straight of grain on these two pieces. Now with this particular quilt, which is part of Anvil Magic, I went one step further. After I had sewn my triangle on, I cut off the corner and sewed a secondary design. Back to the booklet that came with the ruler, right here. All that you need to know in order to do that is right here. Or if you're making the Anvil quilt, all that you need to know is right here. On the wall behind me, you see this quilt? This is one of my Joy of Sets patterns. And the Joy of Sets patterns mostly use the ruler, not necessarily always. But I used the ruler when I created these stripped triangles. So I have a red strip, a pink strip, and a white triangle. Takes very little fabric, very little waste, and it just adds so much to your quilt when you do this sort of thing. The other thing that makes it so fun for other people to look at, and how did she do that? When I had finished the body of the quilt, I took that same red fabric and sewed it all the way around the outside edge of the quilt. So it appears that this is appliqued on when it isn't at all. This particular pattern is called Twin Peaks. So Twin Peaks is a way that you can set your blocks 6, 9, or 12 inches. All my Joy of Sets patterns have multiple sizes in them. So you can put any block you want to into those squares, or if you've got a favorite fabric that you just hate to cut up in little pieces because it's going to be lost, think about how pretty those would be in there. Do you have a panel that you've done, or machine embroidery, or applique? Anything can be set into these particular spaces. So Twin Peaks is a new pattern that I think you'll enjoy playing with, as well as the setting triangles. I hope that you've got blocks at home right now that you're thinking, that's what I need. I don't have enough fabric to cut big triangles for the edges of my quilt, but I can come up with small amounts of fabric and do those strip things, and everybody's going to think that you just are a genius when it comes to making your quilts sing. Have a great day. Happy quilting. Look for the ruler at your local quilt shops, or go to cozyquilt.com and look for it on their website. I've had fun visiting with you this morning. Bye.